Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Ishaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular teaching, brothers and sisters, is an updated version of what was taught before with added information there too. All right. So we want to sit there, brothers and sisters, and show this throughout edification purposes about the holy name of the Most High, as well as in regards to the tribe of the Danites, because of the misunderstandings that has been stated concerning the house of the tribe of Dan, and so forth and so on. All right. Hopefully, people are able to follow along, understand, get your pens, get your pads, get your papers, and so forth and so on. All right. So, without further ado, let us continue in this particular regard. Shalom. Giving honor and praise to Yah, the creator and maker of heaven and earth. It is in due love and respect of the Most High God that this presentation is presented. I do not claim to know everything, and I am open to constructive criticism. The topics covered will be grammar, El and Elohim. Is there more than one Yah? The reasons why vowels had to exist, and a part concerning the tribe of the Danites. The contact information will be stated at the end of this presentation. All right. So without brothers and sisters any further ado, we want to continue and start in this particular aspect. All right. Hebrew presentation part 2, the breakdown. Shalom Lakim. Now, for those joining on, the word Lakim means to you all. La means to or for. Lakim, to you all. All right. Let us continue in this particular aspect. El and Elohim, the Hebrew way of understanding this. El, what you see there on the left-hand side, meaning God. Elohim, what you see on the right-hand side there, meaning God or Gods, plural. Now, this is something, brothers and sisters, we do want to sit there and emphasize and talk about, because there seems to be some misunderstandings concerning this kind of subject. All right. So, as noted for edification purposes, all right, let's continue. Next slide. Thank you. Elohim and Eloha. Elohim, what you see there on the left-hand side. Eloha, what you see on the right-hand side. Both of them meaning God. Okay, we're going to explain what this is about as we go along. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 in Hebrew explained. All right. Bereshit bara Elohim eta shemayim wa eta aretz. Now let's understand something, and we want to highlight certain things, brothers and sisters. This word here that we see, Elohim, all right, highlighted there. I'm going to use a different color highlight aspect. All right. We're going to use this one and highlight the word Elohim, right? Now, let's look at this right here. The word bara. The word bara, brothers and sisters, all right, means he created. All right. That's something we want to point out for edification purposes. All right. The word bara, brothers and sisters, means he created. All right. So that's something we want to sit there and talk about for edification purposes. Now, what we're talking about when you see, and I want to highlight this in a different color. All right. It. hashamayim. Let's look at this and underline certain things for edification purposes, right? Mayim means water, right? Shah, as we explained before in Hebrew, means that which is, okay? That or that which is, okay? So this is something we want to emphasize for edification purposes, right? Et hashamayim wa et haaretz. Now, let's look at this right here. Another aspect we want to sit there and get into, if we will. Et, brothers and sisters, is used as an aspect for edification purposes. All right? And the reason for this, brothers and sisters, is so it shows a definite article. All right? Et hashamayim, the heavens. Wa et haaretz. Now, we want to emphasize, as we pointed out, that the word mayim means water. So when it says the waters that are above and the waters that are beneath, that is what that's talking about. All right? So now, brothers and sisters, to this other word, if we will, Bereshit. All right? Now let's look at this right here, and I want to show this with the pen aspect. The B part. Okay? That means in or with. Reshit means, my penmanship on here I know is not the best, but we get the idea. Beginning. All right, I'm using the mouse and I'm normally a left-hander and I'm trying to use my right hand because my left is even worse on that. But getting back into this, brothers and sisters, all right? Bereshit bara, the word reshit, right? It comes from the Hebrew root word, brothers and sisters, it comes from the Hebrew root word, what? Rosh. The word Rosh, brothers and sisters, means head or leader. All right? Head or leader. Another word, brothers and sisters, the word Rishon. Brothers and sisters, all right? Let's look at that right there. And redo that. The word Rishon means what? First. First. Okay, so now let's look at this. You got the word, all right? Reshit, meaning beginning. Rishon, meaning first. Rosh, meaning head. So this is something, brothers and sisters, we want to point out for edification purposes. All right? So let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this particular regard. Next slide, please. We're going to come back to this one, by the way. All right? Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 explained further. Bara Elohim. The point is that the Hebrew says bara Elohim. Now, what I'm about to circle, brothers and sisters, right here, is the word bara for edification purposes. Okay? Then we see Elohim. Bara, as noted in the 201 Hebrew Verb Book by Halkin, page 44, is the third person masculine singular in the case here, meaning literally he created. All right, so let's look at this right here for edification purposes. Right? We have bara. Now, one of the things we want to emphasize on is that it is not saying in the beginning he created gods. It's not saying that. It's saying in the beginning God created. Now, the aspect of the verb is what's circled here, the word bara. All right? So that's something we want to point out in that particular regard. Okay? And the word Elohim in this case here is the noun. All right? So now, the noun and the verb in Hebrew, the fourth would agree, all right, with each other. Okay. So now, with that being the case, brothers and sisters, we can sit there and emphasize on this. Elohim, though generally understood as plural, shows in many cases, in this case, to be the magnitude of that one. For instance, the word betulim means virginity. The Hebrew word, brothers and sisters, Chaim, means life. So life is immense and life is deep. You understand? So is it the same once it comes to the aspect of the word here, Elohim. It is not speaking about the aspect of more than one God. And you can tell that because of the aspect of how this right here, brothers and sisters, is singular, the masculine singular. Now, had it been the pluralized form of such, all right, it would have been, instead of the word bara, it would have been, brothers and sisters, as we would see here, bar which means they created. All right. So this is not saying God's they created, it's saying God he created. In the beginning, God created, not in the beginning, he created gods who created things. That's not what that's talking about. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we want to point out for edification purposes. All right. Are there any questions about what we've gone over so far? Are there any questions about what we're going over so far, brothers and sisters? Okay. Now, let's go on, if we will, to the next particular aspect. Bara created in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 26. Lift up your eyes on high and see who has created these. He that bringeth out their hosts by number. He calleth them all by name, by the greatness of his might, and for that he is strong in power, not one faileth. So what are we looking at? Se'u marom enekim, ur'u mi bara ele, hamotzi ba mispar zeba'am, lekulam b'shem yikra, merob onim wa amit ko'ak, ishlo nehdar. So let's look at this, and I want to highlight certain things, brothers and sisters. We're going to highlight this part here that says the word bara and the word ikra, right? And with that, brothers and sisters, we want to sit there and with the pen circle the yod and the prefix of this for a particular reason. Now let's look at the kuf, the resh, and the aleph, the word kwara. All right, the word kwara, brothers and sisters, in Hebrew means to call. Kwara means to call. All right. So now, when it says lift up your eyes on high, se'u, that's the word lift. It comes from the root word nasa, but the noon drops out, okay, when you put it in this aspect of the command form. Se'u merom, merom. That's the part where you get the word high from, because the word ram means to be exalted. So marom, as we want to point out as before, when you have the prefix of the mem, it turns the verb into a noun. There is structure once you get down into the aspect of the language. Enekim, all right, that part leads you into where it says your eyes. All right, uru means and see. Now, brothers and sisters, what I'm gonna circle, the word re'u means see. It's from the root word ra'ah. All right, so we can gain something for edification purposes. So when we, not to be haughty or anything of that sort, all right, when we, brothers and sisters, sit there and call ourselves the Hebrew Israelites, it's important when we are able to get into the Hebrew, because for one thing, it definitely distinguishes from one to the next. And this is not to be haughty. No credible Jewish scholar in the language has ever contested what I spoke concerning the breakdown of the word Mizraim. When we did what's called the Smash of the Synagogue of Satan back in 2016, right? I explained that the word Mizraim doesn't mean Egypt, but that the word Mizraim means double straights. Thousands of people saw that. I did the same thing on this particular channel as well as in others. And everybody who seemed to want to contest what I was talking about were people who did not understand about the prefixes and the suffixes of Hebrew. All right. So that's something just wanted to point out in that particular regard. You cannot, brothers and sisters, as we went over in a video on Mora Yeshaya Torah lessons, subscribe to that channel as well. When we went over the thing called Black Girls' Names connection to Hebrew linguistics, there's no way you're going to try to take a concordance or a lexicon, be it the Young's Concordance or the Brown Brothers Bridge, whatever else out there, and then try to sit there and go against one who's speaking and teaching upon the language. You can't do that. You understand? Like I stated in that video, I will not take a Spanish Oxford. I will not take a Spanish dictionary by Oxford. You understand? And then try to go in the Bronx and try to debate my brothers and sisters who are so-called Puerto Ricans. I wouldn't do that. I'll be playing myself doing that. I will not go over with an Oxford dictionary to Rosedale in Queens, where there's a high percentage of our brothers and sisters from Haiti, and then try to debate them in French. You got to be out of your mind. So anyone, and it's not to be haughty, who attempted in their own way to try to contest a particular situation with people who were not sound and understood in the language itself. All right, so let us please understand that. Now, what I just erased, right, I want to sit there and color code this so we can begin to see different for those who are following later on. The word se'u means lift. Then we have, all right, we want to change the color. Then we have uru, which means what? And see. Then we want to change the color again to black. And I'm going to leave that part out there for a reason. Maroon on high. Now, brothers and sisters, so you can see the different color codes and you can see what word means what. Better off as this goes along later. All right, because I remember, though I go through the language and sometimes people tell me I go too fast and I talk too fast, I've been told that. But one thing I remember is looking at Hebrew as if it was scribble scrabble. Like, what in the world is that? My eyes at that time were not open to understand that. You understand? So this is something we want to point out in that regard. Now, what you see bold right there, bara, right? That's the same word, brothers and sisters, we see here, bara. That's the same word we see right here. All right? The word bara. Now, let's look at this for edification purposes, right? Bara, mi bara, ele. Now, let's color code this one more time with the pen, and we want to use darker blue. Ele means these. So in the Hebrew class that I did this past Friday night, when I said Hanashim Ha'ele means these women. All right. So I just wanted to point that out for edification purposes. Hamotzi ba mispar, right? He that bringeth out their host. Now let's highlight and color code this. We want to get into the language. We're not just going to go next slide, next slide. No, let's not do that at this point. Let's go, all right, and go into edification purposes and see what we can glean up out of this. Okay, so let's look at the highlighter part. And we want to highlight this in a different color. We're going to have to use a lighter color, such as this here, right? That hay that you see there being highlighted, right, is this word here, that. Now, what you're about to see highlighted, okay, inside the red, motzi, is this word here, bringeth. Hamotzi, this is the same root word used in Exodus 20, who brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. To bring or to have been brought, brothers and sisters, or to bring forth, it has the same root word. The word yadza means to go out. Hotza means to be brought out or to bring out, pardon me. All right, so this is something we want to point out. So he that bringeth, hamotzi. Now, this right here is still masculine singular. Hamotziah would be feminine singular. Hamotziim would be masculine plural. Hamotziot would be feminine plural. So you can begin to see, if you was following the Hebrew classes like the one done earlier today, you would have been able to see how the Hebrew is patternized. It's not way far off. That's why the book that I wrote, I called it Hebrew is Easy. It's different, but it's not difficult. All right, so that's something, brothers and sisters, we want to point out in that regard. So now, if I can ask, how is the sound? How is the sound? I'm asking for a reason. All right, how is the sound? Okay, let's continue on. Bamispar. And we want to sit there and underline this particular one. All right, and we're going to underline this in green, if we will. All right. Nope, that ain't going to work because it's already green. We're going to underline this in purple. Okay. So let's look. Bamispar. That is connected in translation to the word number. Now, we've emphasized in Hebrew classes over and over and over, right? About this right here, that mem. Serving as a prefix. This mem. Serving as a prefix. So what are we left? And we want to highlight this next particular part. All right, the word sapar. What does sapar mean? It means to count. It means to recount. Like, in other words, you're giving a declaration of something. So, brothers and sisters, when we say brothers and sisters, all right, the word mispar, we're saying the word number. But if you were to drop off, if we will, looking at the pen aspect, if you were to drop off that particular case right there, you have the word sapar. The word sapar, as stated, means to count. All right. So the word, let's go into the language. Let's break this down. The word sapar, meaning to count, also is the same root word sapar, okay, meaning to tell. Sapar means to count. It also means to tell. Like, I'm telling, right? Now, brothers and sisters, the word, when you interject the wow between this, comes the word sipur. Now, that word, brothers and sisters, the word sipur, all right, means the word story. So a story is what is told. From sapar, meaning to count or tell, you can get the word sipur, which means a story. Do we see how Hebrew works? This is why I call it the book that I wrote in the aspect of Hebrew is easy. It's not difficult. It is different because it's written from, right to left, and the writing is different than the English lettering and so forth and so on. So anybody, and I say this as a Hebrew teacher and a Hebrew student, because some of my Hebrew teachers are still among us. May the Most High continue to bless their life. But anybody who cites that garbage book called Hebrew is Greek is a person who's not linguistically sound. You understand? There's a book out there, straight garbage, called Hebrew is Greek. And in time, we're going to go and dissect that book so that way it can be known for edification purpose. That is straight garbage. A lot of people into the Kemetic thing try to use that book while not understanding the hieroglyphs, nor understanding Greek, nor understanding Hebrew. Only knowing English, trying to sit there and cite a book that talks about two languages that you don't know. See, this is the problem with YouTube scholars. You understand? This is the problem with, and I hate to have to say it, with they who are not published. You understand that always citing everybody else's publications. I state again, put your face on a book as opposed to giving all this love to Facebook. You understand? Put your face on a book as opposed to giving all that love to Facebook. Remember this week? Well, now last week, because it's the Yom Rishon or the new week. Facebook shut down for part of the day. Remember that? I know I was one of the people like, what's going on? You know what I mean? That just go to show you that if this thing shut down, what are you going to use as your sources? So that's why it's important to get these things in your head, because they can't shut that down. You understand? So, any questions concerning what we've gone over so far? Alrighty. Now, I don't have Facebook. I hear you, brother. Zeba'am, which is their host. All right, and we want to color code that. All right, I'm gonna do that. We're gonna highlight it and color code it in this. Their host. The word Zabah means army or host. Zeba'am, their host. All right, Kulam. Kulam, all right, and we want to sit there and use the pen to show what that's talking about. I wish this did have more colors. Probably does. Just didn't analyze the whole thing yet. Kulam. Them all. All right. But shame. Now let's color code this one right here. And we're going to use yellow. Right? Ba shame. Remember, ba or ba means in or with, as we went over with the word bereshit. So, but shame, right? By name. Yukra. Remember this word kwara we went over? It means to call. C-A-L-L. All right? Call. Yukra. Bashem Yukra. By name he calleth. By name he will call. He will call. Yukra means he will call. That's how you know it's still singular. Now, had it been plural, like some people try to say Elohim must mean these beings or gods only, it would have been Yikreu, masculine plural. But this one right here is masculine singular. Even with this yod as the prefix, it's still masculine singular. Had it had that wow at the after the aleph, then it would have been that aspect. That's why Hebrew is important. You understand? So let's go on, brothers and sisters. Let's erase some of this to make it have some kind of order. All right. Merob onim wa amit koak ish lo nedar. The word adar, brothers and sisters, in that case means to fail. Lo nedar, it will not be failed. Ish, meaning one, meaning man, meaning soul, meaning being, all right? Wa'amitz, ko'ak. The word ko'ak, we want to emphasize, all right, with this pen here, means the word power. The word ko'ak also means blue, for those Hebraically sound, all right? Wa'amitz, strong. It is a common saying in the camps I came through called Kazak Wa'amatz. The word amatz, brothers and sisters, means, as the saying goes, Kazakwa amatz, be strong and of good courage. So amatz meaning courage or strong, translated here as strong, but more so courage. Amitz, it comes from the root word here, amatz. Now this is where you get the king of Judah by the name of Amaziah. Amaziah said in the English transliteration. All right. So this is something, brothers and sisters, we want to point out for edification purposes. Are there any questions concerning what we've gone over so far? Any questions or comments or anything of that sort? Okay, let's go into the next slide. Oh, the main point of this. Bara, created. The Most High, he created. Not the Most High, they created. Next slide. Bore, creator. Isaiah chapter 42, verse 5. Thus says God the Lord, he that created the heavens and stretched them forth, he that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. Ko amar ha'el yod he wahe, bore hashamayim, wa no tehem, rokwa ha'aretz, wa ze ezaeha, no change neshama lahem. Aleha wa ruach lahohim bah. What are we seeing, brothers and sisters? Ko amar, masculine, singular. The word amar is a verb in root meaning what? To say. That's what the word amar means. Ko amar. So now this is masculine singular, as stated. The MS stands for masculine singular. Ha'el, yod he wah he. The God. What's God is this talking about? Yod he wah he. Now there are some who are trying to teach that there's more than one Yod he wah he, which is ridiculous. But we're going to go on, right? Ko amar ha'el yod he wah he. Bore hashamayim. See bore here, bore here, right? Thus says God the Lord, he that is the creator of the heavens. Bore. I know my penmanship on this needs to get better. We're going to work on that, Israel. Creator, right? It comes from the root word, what? Bara. Now, where did we see this word before? Where did we see bara before? Let's go back. Let's go back. Ta-da! Genesis 1 verse 1. Bara. This is the root of where you get this word here. Bore. You understand? Remember, for those following, when we did the thing in the aspect of the word sapar, meaning story. Pardon me, sapar meaning to tell, is sipur meaning story. You know how that works, brothers and sisters? Is because Hebrew has structure. So now when you put bore and you put the wow in between the first and the second root of the verb, you automatically change that too into the aspect of a noun. Bore, the creator. Hashemayim, the creator of the heavens. We read that word Shemayim before. All right? What no him. That was cometh out of it. Now we're going to circle color code it different. I want to color code this in blue. All right? The noon, the tet, and actually that yod that you see there takes the place of the other letter, but it would have been the word nata. And the word nata, brothers and sisters, all right, means to sprout forth or to spring forth. All right? Because the word natia, brothers and sisters, in Hebrew means a plant. All right? Well, no tehem, rokwa, haaretz. Rokwa, from the root word, brothers and sisters, rakwa. Now, brothers and sisters, the word rakwa means to be compressed together. You understand? When something is compressed together, that is what we're dealing with in this particular regard. Spread forth from the earth. Rokwa haaretz. This is where you get the root word, brothers and sisters. Rakia. Generally translated, all right, the word rakia, generally translated as the word firmament. All right, for those familiar with Genesis, you already know what the word rakia is about. All right, any questions concerning what we're talking about? All right, what ze azeha. This, brothers and sisters, serves as a suffix. With ze azeha, ze eza. Ze eza is that root. Pardon me, that root of that particular, or the foundation of that particular word. Right? And brothers and sisters, that which cometh out of it, that which spring forth from it, that which is its descendants. Because the word zeha also means descendants. All right? So this is something we want to talk about. Notain means what? Give. From the root word natan. Because the word natan, brothers and sisters, in root, that is, means give. All right? Notin neshama lahem. Giveth breath. Neshama means breath, brothers and sisters. La'am, to the people. This word here, am, means people. Aleha, on it. Feminine, as we see here. I want to put F-E-M. F. What are we talking about? The earth, brothers and sisters, in Hebrew thought, is feminine, not masculine. You come out of what is feminine. You understand? That's why it says aleha, upon it being the earth, and not alaiwa, meaning it as if it was masculine. Well, ruach, we went over that word before. Ruach means breath or thought or spirit. Laholchim ba. Halak in Hebrew means to go. Well, ruach laholchim ba. In spirit, to them who go. Laholkim, to the goers of, to the walkers of ba, upon it or her. Earth, one more time, is feminine. That's why you see that feminine letter, that being the letter hey, which is feminine. So we want to emphasize this, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. Are there any questions so far? Are there any questions so far? All right. Next slide. Isaiah 43, verse 10 and verse 12. Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall any be after me. I have declared, and I have saved, and I have announced, and there was no strange God among you. Therefore ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, that I am God. So henotheism doesn't get any clout or play in this particular regard, because there was no strange gods. So anybody talking about henotheism and you looking at, oh, well, the god of Moab and the god of Ekron and the god of Egypt and the god of Philistia, brothers and sisters, is not the God of Israel. And so since we are the witnesses of such, even to these days and times, I have declared and I have saved, I have announced, and there was no strange God among you. Why do you think as Israelites we always talk about Deuteronomy 28? I have declared. The Most High made that declaration in what we call Deuteronomy 28. And I have saved. The only way to be saved is by the Most High. You understand? And I have announced. And there was no strange God among you. So when it says in Isaiah that the Most High made a light upon Jacob and it settled upon the house of Israel, it's not too hard to figure what that's talking about. Brothers and sisters, I have declared and I have saved. I have announced, and there was no strange God among you. Therefore, ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, that I am God. The fact, brothers and sisters, that we know good and well and claim of who we are according to history and prophecy, and by the process of deduction, is how we can say that the word of the Most High is true. All right? None of these other gods in these henotheism camps, you understand, can ever sit there and try to say that the God of they want to talk about on the sideline can never sit there and say that they declared and did anything. This is how we know that. Ye are my witnesses. Atem e died in yod he wahe. Wa abdi ashil bakarti, and my servant whom I have chosen. Lema'an teid u, in order that ye may know. Waha aminu, in order that you may believe. Wata aminu salika, li, to me or for me. Watabinu, and understand. Ki anihu, for I am he. Now let's emphasize that, brothers and sisters. All right, for edification purposes. Ani hu. I am he. The fanai, before me. Lo no zar el. There was no God formed before me. Wa akarai, and after me. Lo yihye, there shall not be. I have declared and I have saved. Anoki, he got T. I have declared, I have announced. Pardon me, I have told. Wahoshati, and I have saved. Wahashmati, and I have announced or I have made to be heard. So now let's emphasize something, all right, for the highlight aspect, if we will, right? I have announced, brothers and sisters, I have announced, if we will, is right here. Same as we see here, highlighted. I just want to color code it so we can see what we're talking about. Wahish mati, wa ain bakem, and there is not with you, ba kem, with you all. Zar, strange, that which is not upright. Zar, that which is crooked. Atem, and you all are my witnesses. Now let's color code this in red so we can see where the connection comes into play at. All right. Atem Adai, ye are my witnesses. Atem Adai, ye are my witnesses. Ne'um Yod He Wahe, Wa Ani El, and I am El. So when we go back, brothers and sisters, to this part here, when it says Ha'el Yod He Wahe, it's not too hard to figure out what we're talking about. The God Yod He Wahe. Now, let me emphasize something when I speak in part against, if you will, what they refer to as henotheism in the house of Israel. Their argument is, well, in the Torah, it speaks of other gods. My question is, did any of these other gods speak of the Most High God? Because, see, the fact that the Most High in the Tanakh spoke of what people revere as other gods shows the reality of the Most High. But the God of Ekron is not shown speaking about the God of Yisrael. The God of Edom is not shown speaking about the God of Yisrael. You understand? So this is something we want to point out in that particular regard. Next slide. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 11. Thus you shall say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, these shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. So let's see, according to the scriptures, right? Thus saith God the Lord, Ko Amar Ha'el Yod He, He that created the heavens and stretched them forth. He that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it. Brothers and sisters, the earth is known by how wide it is. So the creator of the earth is the Most High. So these gods that have not made the heavens and the earth shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. What you're looking at, brothers and sisters, on the left-hand side is an actual picture of what happened in Ohio when the Most High struck lightning on what they refer to as Touchdown Jesus. There was a big statue that they had in Ohio called Touchdown Jesus. And some years ago, the Most High struck it with lightning as we see here. Thus you shall say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, these shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. So it's not too hard to figure out what's being spoken about. If you're not the one who created the heavens and the earth and you are revered as a god, you are a false god. Let's go on, brothers and sisters. The topic, Psalms 82, verse 1 and verse 6. God standeth in the congregation of God. In the midst of the judges, he judges. I said, ye are godlike beings, and all of you sons of the Most High. So let's look at this part right here. Elohim netzah ba'adat el, b'kwereb Elohim yishpot. Ani amorati Elohim atem, ubne elyon kulkem. Now, I want to start off by saying, this translation here as saying God-like beings is not really the rawest translation you can glean up out of that. The rawest one is, I said, you are gods, and all of you are sons of the Most High. So now let's look at that, talking about this aspect of human beings, being called gods, okay, in the book of Psalms. What does it say? Elohim, Nizab Ba'adat El. El, God, in the congregation. Adat, Nizab, he stands, Elohim. But Kwereb, in the midst of gods, Yishpot, he judges. Ani Amarti, I, even I have said, Elohim Atem, you all are gods. Ubne Elyon Kulkim, and the sons of the Most High are you all. So what's being stated, brothers and sisters? is this. And I want to color code this so we can begin to see what we're talking about for edification purposes, right? Highlight, and I want to highlight this in the yellow. Nitzab ba'adat. The word adat means congregation. Elohim, God, gods. Let's explain that. Nitzab, this right here. Masculine, singular. Masculine, singular. But Quereb Elohim, in the midst of, midst, Elohim, translated here as judges. So, brothers and sisters, what can we glean from this? That Elohim is translated as judges in Psalms 82, verse 1. Yet we see the masculine singular here. We see the masculine singular here. We see the masculine singular here. Now, whether or not you put, brothers and sisters, the pronoun or the noun after or before the verb in biblical Hebrew doesn't always matter. All right? Elohim nizab. Ba'adat el. He stands. Who is he? El, God. Masculine singular. He stands in the congregation, as it's translated here, as God. But as we just saw, we can also translate it as the word judges. God, he standeth in the congregation of the judges. In the midst of judges, this right here, this yod, masculine singular, and that root word shapat. The word shapat, brothers and sisters, all right, we want to emphasize, if we will, the word shapat there, brothers and sisters, means to judge. And this, what we're going to highlight in the blue, all right, shows it to be the masculine singular. Okay? So that's how you can break down the Hebrew verb in that particular case. So God, he stands in the congregation of the judges. In the midst of the judges, he will judge. Are there any questions about what I've just explained in this particular regard? Because I want to emphasize that as you see the word here, Elohim, translated as the word judges, right? And the word to judge in Hebrew is the root word, as we're going to write out here, right? Is the word, I want to put this in blue, shapat. Are there any questions about the explanation I just stated? Questions, comments, anything about what I just stated? The word we see here, shapat, means to judge. So what am I saying about the translation of this verse here is this, all right? And I want to put this in the highlight parts, or should I say the laser point. El, masculine singular, God. In the congregation of the judges, he stands. He stands. What am I saying? I am saying, brothers and sisters, that this word netzab and this word el connect with each other. I am saying, brothers and sisters, that this word Elohim, brothers and sisters, as already shown, is the judges. So this Elohim that we're talking about right here, and I want to sit there and circle this one in the blue. is translated, brothers and sisters, as judges or God, and aka Godza, because you stand in the position of the Most High. Not that you are the Most High, because you're rendering His judgment. Now, mind you, judgment is not always punishment. There's some camps who may not understand that, and I say this in no disrespect, because a lot of times when people speak of judgment, you're thinking of punishment. Not so, because it says you enter judgment upon the wicked and the righteous. The righteous too are judged. You see what I'm saying? But judge don't always mean negative. It doesn't always mean sad. It doesn't always mean punishment. All right? So what we going to get into in this particular regard? Let's continue. Ani amarti. Even I have said, emphasizing it by the pronoun ani there. Elohim atem. You all are gods. Ubne elyon kulkem. And the sons of the Most High are you all. So it says godlike beings. They getting this from the word Elohim, as you see there, which we also see is translated as the word judges. Good arrow in that particular case. All right. Any questions concerning this particular aspect? Let's go on to the next slide. The topic, Exodus chapter 22, verse 27. Elohim lo tequalel, wenasi ba'amka lo ta'or. Thou shalt not revile God, nor curse a ruler of your people. In many translations, the reading where it says God reads as judges. This is important because if we see the El, judges, in the midst of Elohim, how can we think that El or Elohim has only one set meaning? That's what I'm asking in that particular regard. Right? So let's understand this. Exodus chapter 22, verse 27, when it says, thou shalt not revile God. Elohim, God, judges, lo tequalel. Qualel in Hebrew means revile or curse. This is where you get the root word qualala, which means a curse. As you see in Deuteronomy 28, all these curses. Kol ha-qualalot ha-ele. Qualala, qualalot, quelel, to curse or to revile. This tau that you see there serves as a prefix. All right? Elohim lo tequalel. Now, if we're taking the definition that we see here as judges, also for the word Elohim, brothers and sisters, we can see why some Bibles translate that as you should not revile judges, nor curse a ruler of your people. What not see, but amka lo ta'or. Now let's understand something, brothers and sisters. This word here, nasi, right, is generally translated as the word prince. But, brothers and sisters, for getting into the language, if we will, all right, the word nasi, right, it comes in root from the word nasa. Nasa means to lift or carry. So a nasi is one that is lifted or carried or upheld. So the word generally translated as prince in Hebrew, the word nasi in root in Hebrew, brothers and sisters, comes from the root word nasa. All right? Ba'amka, among your people. Lo ta'or. Ta'or from the root word irer, which means to curse. Okay? So let's emphasize something, if we will. Right? And I want to put this in the pen, and I want to put this in yellow, if we will. What you're seeing being put as that the tile there shown circled or so in the yellow, that is just to emphasize the fact that that is part of the prefixes. All right? Next slide, please. The Nitzab matter. Numbers chapter 22, verse 22. And God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of the Lord placed himself in the way for an adversary unto him. Now he was riding upon his ass, meaning riding upon his donkey, and his two servants were with him, right? Wayikar af Elohim, ki holek hu, wayit yatzeb mal akyod he wahe baderek, le satan lo, wehu, rokeb al atono, us ushne, na arau imo. Now, what are we pointing out, brothers and sisters? Wayit yatzeb. Now let's, brothers and sisters, all right, highlight, and I want to use a different color highlight, if we will, right? Wayit yatzeb. Now we're going to get into some aspect, brothers and sisters, into the language itself, right? Because remember, Hebrew is easy, all right? The word Nazab, brothers and sisters, all right? Nazab. That is the initial root, all right? This being the Zadeh, all right? For the ancient inclined, I'll put that, all right? Nazab, all right? Wayit Yatzeb. As you see right there, I want to sit there and circle this in the yellow part there. This noon, as this noon, this is referred to as a pay noon verb in Hebrew. All right? When you conjugate it, the noon drops off. The noon drops off. That's why you don't see it over here. Wayit Yatzeb. You still see the Zadeh in the bet, Zadeh in the bet. This is part of the Hitpa'el stem of such. Wayit Yatzeb, which means that the angel or the messenger, because that's what Mal'ak means. Mal'ak means angel, but it also means messenger. The messenger of the Most High caused himself to stand erect, Baderek, in the way, La Satanlo. Now let's expound upon this, and I want to put this in blue, if we will. All right, this word here, La Satan. Satan, Satan, adversary. See, the reason why they didn't translate that and put Satan in that, because it would have not looked good in the English translation. So the Hebrew now is showing you, is saying that the angel of the Most High positioned himself as an adversary. Satan simply means adversary. All right. So that's something we want to point out in that particular regard. All right. Satan, adversary. Right. The Most High is Satan to the wicked. Do we understand that? That the Most High is Satan to the wicked. Right? Okay. Let's Satan for No, that one can't rock. For an adversary. To him. Any questions so far? Let's continue. Now he was riding upon his ass, meaning upon his donkey, and his two servants were with him. Let's go on, if we will, to the next slide. The Nizab matter. 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 7. And Solomon had 12 officers over all Israel who provided victuals for the king and his household. Each man had to make provision for a month in a year. There is a question? Okay. The word Netzabim from Netzib, shown, means as shown officer. So let's highlight the parts that we're talking about and emphasizing on. All right. Walish Lomo Shenem Asar Netzabim. Netzabim. Translated here as officers. So let's look. Nitzabim, officers, both of them are there. But we already know good and well that the word in root, Nitzab, translated there as officers, really means they who are standing erect. That's what an officer in that case is, right? Al-Qad Yisrael, Wakil Kilu, Et Hamelek, Wa Et Beto, Wakil Kilu, provided, they provided. Et Hamelek Wa Et Beto. Melek means king in Hebrew. Beto, and there meaning his house. All right. Kodesh Bashana, in the head of the year. Yihyeh al Echad Ha-Echad. It will be on the one, Lakalkel, for provision. So hopefully that was understood. The point I wanted to use this for, brothers and sisters, in 1 Kings 4, verse 7, is we can see that the word Nitzabim is translated as officers. But the root of that word Nitzabim is Nizab, which means to stand or to stand erect. This is why we pointed out, brothers and sisters, all right, in this particular case here, Wayit Yazeb, right? And it says there, placed himself or caused himself to stand erect. That's what that is there. And that's the root of that, from that particular aspect. So the angel of the Most High in Numbers 22 was, in that regard, you may say, translated as an officer. Okay? Let's go on, if we will. Oh, the wording we saw in Numbers 22:22 shows that the messenger was and set as an officer against Balaam due to Elohim being angry with him. This is a case of El judging in the midst of the Elohim. Next slide. Hebrew knowledge on the matter of Elohim. Elohim, in the sense of singular, spoken of God, is followed by the verb or adjective in the singular. We should note that in the cases, as in 2 Samuel 7:23, we see Halhu Elohim, and it means in lay terms, the powers they went. And speaking of that is the host of El, the Elohim, who are doing the work of El. Such also is in Genesis chapter 20, verse 13. Brothers and sisters, so yes, there is, if you want to put it in layman terms, the heavenly hosts that work for the Most High, that would, as the humans were called judges on earth, so there were and are heavenly hosts that will be called Elohim as well, right? But we don't bow down to them nor serve them, because they're not the ones who brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So the teaching of some, talking about the Etherian angels, were the ones who performed the miracles in Exodus, holds absolutely no weight, because it's the Most High that did it. See, if you are sent as a judge, as a mighty one, as an El, right? And you help someone, who gets the credit? You or the Most High? The Most High does. That's the point of that one. Any questions? Sorry about that. I wanted to eat a little bit of salad with the dressing. The Israelites knew that there was one Elohim among them. Elohim, though ending in im, the im, is not treated as plural in speaking of the Most High. In the next slides, we will show a case of such. Remember, the verb or adjective agrees with the noun in Hebrew. Next slide. All right. Are there any questions concerning this kind of matter that we've been talking about? All right, let's go on. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 through 2, Hebrew and English. Wahidaber Elohim et kol hadbarim ha'ele lemor. And God spoke all these words, saying. All right, let's expound upon this and go in, brothers and sisters. This yod, that's the prefix. Let's go in, brothers and sisters. The word daber, meaning speak. And he spoke. Who is he? Elohim. Et kol hadbarim ha'ele lemor. Or these words, lemor. Saying. If we remember that the verb, now I want to sit there and put this for edification purposes. If we remember that the verb agreeing with the noun, we must see that Wahdabe Elohim means in God he spoke, not in God they spoke. All right. So in Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 through 2, right? What does it say? It says that Elohim is speaking. Now, if you know the next part, it says, Anoki Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Eloheka. I am the Lord thy God. So Elohim is saying that he is Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. You understand? And this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. All right? Let's go on, if we will, to the next part. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 through 2, Hebrew part 2. wahidaber. The word here literally says wahidaber. In the 201 verb book, we see this on page 60. It is a PL verb stem word. In studying Hebrew grammar, we understand that the while consecutive in biblical Hebrew, making future tense words past tense and vice versa. All right, so let's understand what that is in that particular regard. You have while consecutive, also said as the while hakipuk. So now in biblical Hebrew, what happens is you have it to where a normal future tense word is put into the past tense, and a normal past tense word is put into the future. So let's look at this right here for edification purposes, right? This, what we see here, all right, circled, normally is a future tense word. This yod, all right, okay, and I want to circle this in the blue. So we want this to be noted, not just, oh, I like the teacher. No, this is a learning. You understand? And by the way, I ask people for their constructive criticism and advice because, like I'm telling people over and over, if somebody respects you enough to take time out of their own schedule, hello, baby, how you doing? That's my little girl who just walked by. Oh, for those who may or may not know, I'm not at home or whatever in New York. I'm actually in North Carolina, and I just happened to see my little one. But anyway, we're going to continue on in this particular regard, right? Yes, that's the child, but we're in the mode that we're in right now, and she's in the mode that she's in right now. She didn't stop to say what's going on, and I'm not going to stop to sit there and deal with that. We're focused. That's what I try to teach her. Stay focused. Because when the clock comes, her and I are going to be focused on going out. But that's neither here nor there. So let's go on back into this particular part, right? So I already set this up schedule-wise. So that way we be done with this hopefully by 1 p.m. And then the rest of the day be her and mine. So that's why you see this being done as early as it's done this morning. All right, so let's look at this right here. We have wahidaber. This is the future tense word, right? Wahidaber. This is a normally future tense word. But now, brothers and sisters, all right, yeah, let's put this in the blue. Because this part here exists, because this while here exists, brothers and sisters, this normal future tense word in biblical Hebrew is turned into past tense. That's why we read the word spoke and not the words will speak. Spoke is past tense, and God spoke. Wahidaber Elohim. So now when we get back into this part, with the while consecutive is what we're dealing with in biblical Hebrew. This is called the while consecutive. All right. So now, brothers and sisters, this is college Hebrew stuff. Do you know how much they charge for that? Let's go on. So now let's go on. This means that the author knows that Elohim speaking to Israel is a he, not a they. Otherwise, it would say why dabru and not why daber. So you see this word right here, right? Just being circled right here, right? That says wahidaber. Now, wahidabru will be spelt as such. Wahidabru would be this. But that's not what we see there. All right? Next slide, please. The Israelites' proclamation. In the matter of Balaam, in the matter of Balaam, oh, that's why it wasn't working out right. In the matter of Baalim, not Balaam. I'm like, why is it not making sense when I'm reading my own writing? All right. In the matter of Baalim, the lords of Canaan, the Israelites did worship them and called upon them as gods, unfortunately. This, however, does not mean that Yod Hey Wah Hey is to be associated with Baalim. All right, so that's something we want to point out in that particular regard. All right. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. Wayar kal ha'am. And it says wayar from the root word ra'ah, meaning to see. Wayar. And all the people they saw. Wayiflu. And they fell al panehem, upon their faces. Wayomru. And they said, Yod he wahe hu ha Elohim. Yod he wahe hu ha Elohim. The Most High, he is Elohim. This is from the book of 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 39. 1 Kings 18:39. With the matter of the Baalim and the people cutting themselves so they were bleeding and everything of that sort. Brothers and sisters, idolatry will lead you to do foolishness. Let's go on. The people, when they saw the miracle with the fire coming down in 1 Kings chapter 18, they proclaimed and said, the Lord, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, he is Elohim. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, hu ha-Elohim. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, hu ha-Elohim. They wasn't wondering about parsing when the Most High came through with that. They wasn't wondering, not to be funny, about this verb and that noun and this agrees with that. Because when the Most High came through, all they can say is he is Elohim. Not, well, Elohim could mean judges, and Elohim can mean no. So before the Most High comes through in our lives, like he did in the situation with 1 Kings chapter 18, we need to stop calling upon false gods, brothers and sisters. Because as we can see, brothers and sisters, all right, once it comes down to this particular one right here, we want to sit there and show, as it says in Jeremiah, what happened. All right. Thus you shall say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, these shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. So when they have to touch down Jesus, as they had in Ohio, and they got burned, as you see there on the left-hand side, that in part is what that's talking about. The gods that have not made the heavens and the earth shall perish. So let that be noted for edification purposes. And the only one, all right, that spoke in the Tanakh for us as Israel, who spoke about creating the heavens and the earth, is Yah. For in 6 days, Yah made the heavens and the earth and all that in them is. So we don't need no henotheism. You understand? Next slide. The Israelites' proclamation. And Shemuel said unto all the house of Yisrael, saying, spoke unto all the house of Yisrael, saying, if you do return unto the Lord, Yah, with all your heart, then put away the foreign gods and the Ashtaroth from among you, and direct your hearts unto Yah, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. Brothers and sisters, Samuel was a prophet. You want to be delivered out of the hand of the Philistines? Serve the Most High and the Most High only. You want to be delivered from the modern day Philistines, aka the police? Serve the Most High and the Most High only. You understand? I sit or stand before you at the age that I'm currently at now, at 39. And I remember being in a camp called Hashaba Yisrael at the age of 14, being told that the police can do anything and we can't do nothing about it. So now I'm like, as stated, 13, 14 years old, 20 something years later, and we're still in the same situation. 20 something years later, and we're still in the same situation because we're holding on to the gods of these nations. We're dealing in idolatry. We're dealing in foolishness. We're dealing in vicariousness. We're dealing in lucre. We're dealing in lasciviousness. That is why. And direct your hearts to serve the Most High only. We have gone over in Psalms chapter 81. You understand? It says, oh, that my people will hearken to my voice. I will soon subdue their enemies. You understand? So with that being the case, brothers and sisters, the enemies of our people soon being subdued means that we have to return back unto the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who only spoke in what is referred to as the Old Testament. You understand? Next slide. Can't in Torah mix Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh with another God. That is what some tried to do. Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image, nor any manner of likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Lo ta'ase laka fesel, wakala temuna. Asher bashamayim mima'al wa asher ba'aretz mitakat wa asher ba'mayim mitakat la'aretz lo tishtakawe lahem wa lo ta'abdem ki ano ki yod-heh-wah-heh Eloheka el kwana pokwed awon abot al banim al shalishim wa al rebeim lason I to my haters, to those that hate me. El kwana, a jealous God, a zealous God, because kwana means zealous as well as the word jealous. Pokwed awon, visiting, accounting for, taking account of, iniquity of the fathers, al banim, upon the sons, unto the third and fourth generations of them, lason I, of my haters. This is not saying that you're dealing with situations because of your great 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 grandfather. That's not what that's saying. That's saying of those that hate the Most High. One generation to the next generation to the next generation to the next generation of a successive line of haters of the Most High. That is what that is talking about, brothers and sisters. All right? Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image, nor any manner of likeness of anything that is in the heaven above the earth, or that is in the earth, or that is in the earth beneath, meaning beneath the heavens, or that is in the waters under the earth. So the heavens above the earth beneath heaven, or the waters beneath earth. We don't know anything outside of that. You're not supposed to be making any graven images. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. So once again, henotheism does not work. Once again, brothers and sisters, the concept of idolatry does not work. And so this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Don't you see that they banned in public schools teaching about the Most High? And they banned, believe it or not, teaching the Torah inside of religious schools? What are they trying to sit there and quote hide? Brothers and sisters, what are they trying to sit there and get people away from observing and keeping? Simple. The laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. Don't have the people return back to that. They know good and well what Samuel said is true. And in order for them to keep their foot on our neck, they got to sit there and have us bowing down to their gods. You understand? And one of the things we want to point out, right? YHWH, as some Israelites sadly wanted to say, right? There's Israelite groups out there that was saying that Yah, some say the name as Yahweh, some say as Yahovah, some say as Yahuwah, some say as Yahweh. You understand? There are Israelite groups out there, unfortunately, that want to promote the idea that Yah or YHWH is a part of a pagan aspect. and they say the name of the Most High in their understanding, not YHWH, but as Ahaya. There's a group of Israelites that do say they're calling upon the Most High by saying the name as Ahaya. And brothers and sisters, Ahaya with vowels, brothers and sisters, is said as Ehyeh. That literally means I will be. So in Exodus chapter 3, when it says, what is the name that I will give them? And it says, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I will be that which I will be. That's a verb. I will be that which I will be. David said, Ehyeh, said by some as Ahaya, speaking of himself. So of course we know that's not the holy name of the creator of heaven and earth. You understand? So these are things, brothers and sisters, we want to get into for edification purposes. All right? This is why I'm saying you can't in Torah mix YHWH with another God. And there are Israelites who are so-called Old Testament based, so-called messianic, if you will. But there is part of them who deem themselves as messianic that say that YHWH, said by some as Yahweh, said by some as Yahovah, said by some as Yahweh. You understand? Well, that's not the name, and they're saying the name is Ahaya, or said by some as Ehyeh. You understand? The problem with that is, and I say this in no disrespect to the people who listen, if you are saying the Greek aspect of calling your church after Christ, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is not going to be mixed with that. You understand? We just read about what Samuel said, what? And Samuel spoke unto all the house of Israel, saying, if you do return unto Yah with all your heart, then put away the foreign gods and the Ashtaroth from among you. So if you're calling your organization Christ Church, yet you're saying that the Hebrew Yah, the Hebrew Yahweh, the Hebrew Yahweh, you're saying that's paganism, yet you're calling upon a Greek Christ in your organization. That, brothers and sisters, is what paganism is, not the opposite. You understand? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. You know, once it comes right down into that particular thing. The concept of a Messiah is an Old Testament based concept. Aaron was called that. His sons were called that. Saul was called that. David was called that. Solomon was called that. We could go so far to say Cyrus was called that. You understand? But we know good and well that Aaron and his sons, David, Saul, and Solomon, being called a Mashiach, meaning anointed one, is not to be worshipped as if they are the Most High. You understand? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Are there any questions concerning what we had just went over? Next slide. The name YHWH. In Hebrew, one cannot say my Yah, his Yah, or her Yah, simply because Yah is Yah. You can't personify it. You can't make Yah personal like that in Hebrew. Like you could say Eli, my God. You can't say Yahi. You understand? As if, or Yah Sheli. You can't sit there and say my Yah. It doesn't work like that in the language. The Hebrew noun or verb, speaking of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, is always in the singular. We discussed that Elohim, meaning powers, gods, judges, mighty ones, can be shown in the plural. And in Hebrew culture, that is shown in the noun or verb that is with it. The Lord God, as shown in Genesis 2, is Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Elohim. And we know that YHWH from the root word haya, means to be or to exist. He who was, he who will be, the eternal power. All right? So are there any questions concerning what we went over thus far? Next slide. Thalim and Mayim matter in Hebrew. In Hebrew, the word for water is Mayim. In many cases, the im or im is showing the plural. Yet, as we see, water and waters are both Mayim in Hebrew. In this case, it is not so much as it is plural, but rather the immensity of the object. Water is immense. In Hebrew, the word thalim or ta'alim, all right, from alam, means you will vanish. This, however, is not a plural word, though it ends with the word im or im. In the next slide, we will go over some aspects of Hebrew knowledge. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. Next slide. Hebrew praises and explanations. Trust ye in the Lord forever, for the Lord is God, an everlasting rock. Bit ku ba yod he wahe ade ad. Ki ba yah yod he wahe zur olamim. The side to this is from Isaiah 26, verse 4. It should be clear now that Israelites have one God, and the one God of Israel is not a part of an Ennead or a unit of Elohim. That will be polytheism. All right? So this is something we want to talk about for edification purposes. Next slide. Hebrew way of explaining things about the Most High God. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against Yah. Ain kakba, wa ain tabuna, wa ain etza, leneged yod he wahe. The above is from Proverbs chapter 21, verse 30. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Most High. So the crafty counsel, brothers and sisters, that the people take against the house of Israel, what does it say in Psalms? The Most High sits in the congregation of the Elohim, of the judges. So when they sit there and make their plans and they go to their retreats and do all kinds of wickedness, believe that the Most High sees what goes on in Bohemian Grove. You understand? Just like the Most High saw what Balak hired Balaam for to curse the house of Israel. So does the Most High see the things that people are doing now to sit there and curse the house of Israel. So when Israel goes against Israel, what do you think the Most High does in regards to that? When your children don't get along, what do? You put them in the corner until they can learn to behave themselves. And that's what the Most High has done with us. Put us in the corners throughout the length and breadth of the earth until you sit there and learn how to behave yourself. Are there any questions about that thus far? Next slide. Yod he wahe, not like any other. When the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whether thou goest in to dispossess them, and now dispossessest them, and dwellest in their land. Take heed to thyself, that thou be not ensnared to follow them. After that they are destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how use these nations to serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God. For every abomination to the Most High, which he hateth, have they done unto their gods. For even their sons and their daughters do they burn in fire to their gods. Brothers and sisters, the Most High doesn't delight in human sacrifice. They burn their sons and their daughters to their gods. The Egyptians did it. The Egyptians had a god named Mut, which they used to sit there and burn their children to that. The people of the Ammonites had a god named Molech or Moloch, and they used to do that to that god, burn their children in the fire. So when we read, brothers and sisters, that Israel is the son of the Most High didn't have Yisrael put to death for the sins of the world. There was already an order already established by the Creator. You understand? Let's go on to the next slide. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Shema Yisrael. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Eloheinu, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Echad. Echad means one. Some attempt to say with a polytheistic mind that Echad means a unit or unity or oneness or one, and assert that there must be more than one Yah. Such, however, is not the case. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Eloheinu, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Echad. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. Not two, not three. Next slide. Genesis chapter 19:24 and Isaiah chapter 62, verse 8. The Lord has sworn by his right hand and by the arm of his strength. Surely I will no more give thy corn to be food for thine enemies, and strangers shall not drink thy wine, for which thou hast labored. The Lord caused to rain upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from Yah out of heaven. What is the point in reading first Isaiah, then Genesis 19? There are some who are saying that there's more than one Yah. And they try to go, or they do go, should I say, and then try to explain Genesis 19:24 as a reference. When it says, then the Lord caused to rain upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from Yah out of heaven. So they're saying that one Yah spoke to and did work with another Yah. Brothers and sisters, that's wickedness. But this is what happens, and when we say you cannot associate the Most High with another God. The purity of the Creator is not going to be understood when you want to bring in another doctrine and then say it is of the Creator as well. You understand? Once it comes down to that particular aspect. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Genesis chapter 19:24 and Isaiah chapter 45, verse 23. By myself I have sworn, the word is going forth from my mouth in righteousness. It shall not come back, that unto me every knee shall bow and every tongue shall swear. By myself have I sworn. The word is going forth from my mouth in righteousness. The Lord caused to rain upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. The Most High is saying in Isaiah that he swears by himself. So when we go in Genesis 19:24, and it says, the Lord caused to rain upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord. Rain. What was raining from the sky? Because this word you see here, himtir, means to cause to rain. From the root word matar, which means to rain, like the rain coming out of the sky. Upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah. Gafrit wa'esh, brimstone and fire. So let's see who will cause that, brothers and sisters. Genesis chapter 19:24, Exodus chapter 15, and Isaiah chapter 62, verse 8. The Lord, in Isaiah chapter 62, verse 8, the Lord has sworn by his right hand and by the arm of his strength. Surely I will not give thy corn to be food for thine enemies, and strangers shall not drink thy wine, for which thou hast labored. Now, in Exodus chapter 15, the Israelites said, thy right hand, O Yah, glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Yah, dashes in pieces the enemy. In Exodus 15, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is mentioned twice in that same verse. Are we to say that those are two different Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh? How would you pluralize that? Because you can't. You understand? So these are things we want to talk about for edification purposes. So when it says thy right hand, O Yah, glorious in power, the Lord has sworn by his right hand. Thy right hand, O Yah, dashes in pieces the enemy, and by the arm of his strength. When we read about hand and arm, these are given anthropomorphic or human representations of the Creator, because we have arms and hands. You understand? But when you think that in the aspect of being the Most High in anthropomorphic ways is the Most High, that's not accurate. You understand? You can't paint a picture of the Creator with arms and hands and then say that's the Most High. The Most High made you, not you him. There's an order already established. You understand? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Deuteronomy and Genesis, Yod He Wah He doing. Let's read on the right-hand side first. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, as I live forever. Then the Lord caused to rain upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and all that was grew upon the ground. And all that was grew upon the ground. Let's go all the way back. You know where we're going. For those who are following, right? Let's go all the way back because see, we don't want to lose sight of the one who causes the things that come from the ground, right? Okay, so let's go on in this particular aspect. Let's say it's God, the Lord. Ko Amad Ha-El. And what El is this? Yod He Wah He, the Most High. He that created the heavens and stretched them forth. He that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it. So the Most High is the one that caused the things to come up out of the earth. And as we see in Genesis chapter 19, it says that the Most High destroyed, in regards to Sodom and Gomorrah, the plain and all they, meaning the things that came up out of the ground. When I say they, the vegetation, the people, the livestock, everything that came up out of the earth there, the Most High destroyed. Understand? This is what we're talking about for edification purposes. So there'll be no misunderstanding when we speak about God. We're talking about the creator and maker of heaven and earth. So let's go on as we were, brothers and sisters. Right? Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Why are there vowels in Hebrew language? Equals Hebrew knowledge. Leviticus chapter 3, verse 3, and Genesis chapter 2, verse 22. Right? Now we're getting into another aspect concerning this kind of presentation about vowels in Hebrew. Leviticus chapter 3, verse 3. And he shall present for the sacrifice of peace offerings, an offering made by fire unto the Lord, the fat that covereth the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards. Genesis chapter 2, verse 22. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man, made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. Now, let's circle, as you may see is highlighted, or bold at least, so far. This word here, Ishe. Ishe, offering, offering made by fire. It's said in Hebrew as Ishe, or a fire offering. And what we're seeing right here, brothers and sisters, and I want to color code this in a little different. Let's use the yellow. is the word Isha. Isha means woman. All right. Ishe is fire offering and Isha is woman. But the spelling of the words is exactly the same in Hebrew. So if you didn't have vowels, that is to say a written sound, because that's really what a vowel is. How would you know the difference, brothers and sisters, between a fire offering and a woman? Because see, that's why we want to point this out. And for those who have the more so ancient aspect, it's this. Now I want to emphasize that a lot of times people try to, and I say this in no disrespect, but you got to respect your audience. The word paleo, brothers and sisters, all right? Paleo Hebrew. The word paleo simply just means ancient. There's nothing real deep about it. Yo, that's the paleo. The word paleo is a Greek word meaning ancient. There's nothing deeper about that. But there are some people, Israelites in certain cases, you understand, who will sit there and say, well, the paleo Hebrew, what this? Somebody actually said the paleo ancient. That's double talk because the word paleo, as stated, means ancient. It's the Greek word for ancient. All you got to do, you can Google that. Let's go on, brothers and sisters. Fire offering in Hebrew is Ishe. The same spelling also says Isha. E She. Strong's Concordance H 800 and H 801 shows that Ishe is fire offering, an offering made by fire. Strong's Concordance H 802 shows that Isha means woman. If there are no vowels, how would you distinguish between Ishe, brothers and sisters, and Isha? Hebrew, by default, would have to have vowels because you can't sit there and have it to where one is not noted without the other. What is a vowel? A vowel simply is a sound that is written. That is written is a vowel. A consonant that is written is a letter. That's simple as that. It's not really that deep. You understand? I hate to have to use the phrase. It doesn't take rocket science for that one. But let's understand something. There's a channel that I operate giving thanks to the Most High. More Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. That channel has the less amount of subscribers. This channel here has over 400 subscribers. The More Yeshaya Torah Lessons has over 700 subscribers. More Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons has less than 200 subscribers. And I think that's part because Israelites don't really care about Hebrew hard body. I remember as a child, and it's not to say you must subscribe and be on my list. I'm not saying that. I'm not on a quote unquote team Yeshaya. That doesn't make any sense. You understand? But I remember as a child, you understand that the Hebrew classes were not a lot in there. There wasn't a lot of people in the Hebrew classes. You understand? I remember teaching Hebrew, and after a while, them classes began to be empty with the people in attendance at least. So this is something that's noticed over the years. You understand? So that's something we want to point out for edification purposes. But with the standard that we want to have upon this channel and others that's operated by myself and the people who are the admins, we're trying to, as the saying goes, raise the bar. And you can't raise the bar, brothers and sisters, without first trying to investigate something for self. What am I saying and what am I talking about in a nutshell? And is this. You generally wouldn't call the ambulance if you have a headache without having taken some kind of herbal tea, Tylenol, aspirin, whatever you're comfortable with, right? So when we are asked again and again and again and again and again and again about vowels in Hebrew, after a while, that question is not going to be addressed anymore because it went again and again and again and again. No man created a vowel because you need to have a sound that comes from the larynx in your throat. Now, certain languages have more vowels than others. You understand? But you're not going to say, while holding up the King James Version of the Bible, that he used Paleo Hebrew. That ain't going to work. King James Version of the Bible, which came out in the 17th century AD, has many no, that's not the word I want to use. Has many transliterations. Some mistranslations, but then again, the standard Tanakh got mistranslations as well. You understand? But the King James versions would have a word such as this. Eliab, meaning God is Father. My God is Father. Now, if you're saying that Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, and you're saying that King James was a descendant of King David, and you're saying that the Hebrew of old would have been without any vowels, how does the King James Version, when it is put in transliteration, have vowels? Just as E, I, and A. Somebody, brothers and sisters, was not given good knowledge once it came down to the language. See, brothers and sisters, we start off with the Tanakh. Some Israelites start off with the Bible, that and the Apocrypha. And that's a good basis. But when you're presenting yourself to the world on YouTube, when you're presenting yourself to the world on Amazon, when you're presenting yourself to the world, you have to raise the bar. And what is acceptable inside of a camp organization is not acceptable online. That's why we don't teach for the novice, brothers and sisters. And still at the same token, ask, are there any questions concerning this kind of subject? Next slide, please. A bit raw, but to the point. Exodus chapter 28. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for splendor and for beauty. First Kings chapter 14:24. And there were also Sodomites in the land. They did according to all the abominations of the nations, which the Lord drove out before the children of Israel. Wasita big day Kodesh, la Aharon Akika, ul Kabod, what it says, ultif aret. This word here, Wasita, we went over the word asa for those following the Hebrew classes, right? Wa'asita big day Kodesh, garments of holiness, holy garments. And we see the same word in spelling, Quadesh, translated as Sodomites. So that's why I said it's a bit raw. Now, without any vowels, how would you know the difference between this Kuf, Dalet, and Sheen, and this Kuf, Dalet, and Sheen? See, under this one in Exodus, it's translated as the word holy. And in this one, I ain't even going to use the same color for such. We're going to put this one in the red. Sodomites. The Sodomites in the land, like in Atlanta. The Sodomites in the land, like in DC. The Sodomites in the land, like in New York, where the black woman knows her man is on a down low sodomy stuff, but she still stays with him because she wants somebody there for the kids, knowing good and well who he going to see at nighttime. There are sisters who are with brothers, married in certain cases, and she knows her man is a Quadesh or a Sodomite. But because she want to keep the family knit together, she doesn't want to break that and leave him. Yet sometimes when a man is good to a woman, she says, oh, you was loving me too much and doesn't want to be a part of him. You don't think the whole head is sick? There are women who get rid of a man in their life who showed her love, who showed her attention, who wanted to be there for her and with her. She doesn't want to maintain that kind of aspect, but there are women who know that their man is with another man, but she still want to maintain that kind of unit. That's why Isaiah said the whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. We have gone backwards, as it says in Jeremiah. That's the kind of stuff that they were talking about. You get rid of what loved you and want to maintain that which is not faithful to you. That's not good. So getting back, brothers and sisters, into this particular aspect, right? And there were also Sodomites in the land. So Qadesh, as we see here, right? Had the same spelling as Quodesh in Hebrew, the Kuf, the Dalet, and the Sheen. So how would you distinguish without any vowels the difference between the two? You can't, because a vowel, as we pointed out, is a sound that is written. Any questions concerning that? Next slide, please. Day and time in Israel's way. Next two slides will deal with the idea that some have. Since Genesis 1 says the Most High divided the day from the night, that the Sabbath and other times is to be only in daylight and not like Genesis 1:5 says, a day is there was evening and morning one day. Next slide. See what happens when these kind of things are presented, right? What happens is, oh, it was the Jewish thing with that. No, when it doesn't work for your doctrine and your camp, doesn't mean that it's Judas something. All right? You know, somebody wrote, the whole head is sick, males and females alike. That is true. Because there are males who actually don't want to be with the woman that loves and shows him love and attention and so forth and so on, and deal with somebody else who can sit there and care less about the help you try to offer. So there are males and females who opt, like ancient Israel, opt for a false god. They hewn them out cisterns that have holes that hold no water. That's what it says in Jeremiah. Israel dealing with false gods is they hewn them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water, as opposed to remaining loyal to the Most High. So have men dealt with women that could care less about what you're trying to do for her, and women have dealt with men, brothers and sisters, who could care less about something you're trying to do good for them. This is why we have to understand the value in somebody who we say we love and respect. That's why we have to understand the value, brothers and sisters, in knowing who the Most High is. Because like he told Joshua, I will not fail you nor forsake you. The gods of the other nations can't say that. Because Chemosh, where is Moab at to this day? Baal, where are the Canaanites at to this day? But the house of Israel is bringing and being shown throughout the length and breadth of the earth, like the God of Israel said, scattered from one end of the earth to the other. So when you find people in East India talking about they Israel, and you find people in Staten Island talking about they the house of Israel, don't be surprised. That is part of the disbursement coming back to its roots. You understand? That's part of the disbursement coming back to its roots. There's nobody springing up, correct me if I'm wrong, talking about we are the people of Moab and Chemosh was saying this, that, and the third. We do say we are the people of the house of Israel, and the Most High has said this, that, and the third. You see the difference? So hopefully that's understood for edification purposes. Next slide. Genesis chapter 4, verse 3 in Exodus chapter 2, verse 23. I meant to put all of that in one part. The font was too big. All right. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the first of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And it came to pass in the course of those many days that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. And they cried, and their cry came up to Elohim by reason of the bondage. Wahi mikwet yamim, wayabe kwayim, mipri ha'adama, minka layod he wahe. And it came to pass in time. This yamim we see here, that's the time. Translated. Yamim, in that case, means time. Then we see here, we're going to highlight this in the blue. Or should I say circle this in the blue, right? Yamim, we see it translated as days. Yamim means days. Yamim also means time. See, this is why we want to get into the language. See, when we're calling ourselves Hebrew Israelites, and we're not getting into no Hebrew, why? So this is something we want to talk about. So once it came down to that particular aspect, right? Now, Exodus chapter 2, verse 23. Yamim, translated there as days. Yamim, translated here as time. So let's go on, brothers and sisters. Numbers chapter 13, verse 20. And what the land is, whether it is fat or lean, whether there is wood therein or not, and be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. We want to show this one more time. The time, translated there, time, said as Yamim, right in the book of Numbers. And here we see, brothers and sisters, the time of. All of that being circled, right? All right, I'm going to verbally address the situation I'm seeing in the chat. Can I sit down with Devon to talk on pre-exilic and post-exilic worldviews? Pre-exilic means, in other words, before the Babylonian captivity or before the Assyrian captivity, right? Why did the Babylonian and the Assyrian captivity happen? 2 Kings 17, my brother, sisters, elders included, who's listening to this, because I don't want to get sidetracked from this, but I want to verbally address something I'm seeing in the chat. Will I sit down with Devon in regards to the, as asked, pre-exilic and post-exilic worldviews? Post-exilic would be after the aspect of the exile. So that means to say when the people came back after the Babylonian captivity. After they came back from the Babylonian captivity, right? When you read in the book of Malachi, the book of Zechariah, the book of Haggai, you don't really see those prophets really addressing idolatry hard body. Malachi talks about marriage. Malachi talks about the Levites not doing what they could do. The book of Malachi talks about those kind of things. The book of Hosea talks about stinginess, greedy people who just want to satisfy themselves and not give to the place which is said to be dedicated toward the Most High. That's what Haggai talks about that. Zechariah talks about prophecies of the future, Israel coming back fully. Like it says in Zechariah, I bend Judah and fit the bow with Ephraim. That's talking about all the 12 tribes coming back. Zechariah talks about brotherhood and why the Most High will not hear Israel because Israel didn't want to hear the Most High. Those are some of the things we addressed in Zechariah, the things addressed in Haggai, the things addressed in Malachi. Some of the prophets that we would say are post-exilic. You understand? During the Persian era, after Babylon fell. But now, pre-exilic. Why, brothers and sisters, did Judah go into captivity? Why did the northern kingdom fall? That idolatry, baby. That's what it was. 2 Kings 17, it says they served false gods. They served gods of naught and they became naught. They served gods of naught and became naught. So the Tanakh pre-exile tells you why the kingdom fell. And none of these other gods from Egypt, Heru, from Babylon, Marduk, from Assyria, Ashur, from Philistia, Dagon. None of them helped the house of Israel. This is why when we speak about Ezekiel chapter 23, when it says Aholah, Israel, and Aholibah, Judah, being whores and going after other gods. You understand? Whom they doted upon the Assyrian gods. When the Assyrians defeated the northern kingdom of Israel, the Assyrian gods did not help the Israelites. So to answer that question, no, I will not go back and forth with that matter, with that brother. No disrespect to him as a brother. I usually don't, quote unquote, take shots at any person and blow their name up. But no, I will not. If I can still be heard, give me a 1. I will not go back and forth with that particular aspect because the brother spoke with another Israelite brother about this. So what's the point then in going back in that particular regard? That would be the way I understand it to be like the dog that returns to its vomit. That would be like going back to what does not love you, what does not respect you. And to collaborate with the woman Bathsheba Yisrael pointed out. All right? Brothers and sisters, the whole head is sick. Why did Saul go upon the dead? Necromancy. Some people in the so-called conscious community talking about we need to go into calling upon the ancestors. And like I said, I usually don't quote blow up people's names, but doesn't it seem like, brothers and sisters, since it was really known that Umar Johnson tried to call upon the spirit of Harriet Tubman, that man ain't getting nothing but problems? The stripper situation, people, everybody saying you a con artist, people saying the building that you got is not really yours, people not believing and trusting what you're saying. Ever since it seemed like Umar Johnson called upon the spirit of Harriet Tubman, who died with pneumonia after being the age of 90, don't it seem like he had problems coming along since then? Let the ancestors rest in peace. You understand? Let the ancestors rest in peace. Both my mother and father are gone. I am not calling upon the spirit of Gerrit Nifla, nor the spirit of Mr. Hutchinson. That is madness. Let them rest in peace. Like I'm asking, doesn't it seem like, since the person who wants to sit there and start the, as it stated, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey School, since he went to upstate New York, pouring libations on the tomb of one of our ancestors, calling upon the spirits, and summoning the spirit in the bathroom, in the mirror, in the dark, don't it seem like that man ain't got nothing but problems? Where is your crew at when you're sitting up there saying, we're going to get this school together? You're walking by yourself and everybody is critiquing your videos, from the fake phone call that was made all the way right down to the fact that you didn't put the key in the door, to the fact that you're in there with a suit on, walking throughout a school that has graffiti on the wall, talking about, I need you to help me work for this for free. The libations you poured to the ancestors was not free. Somebody paid for that liquid that you poured on the grave, but you want somebody to work for you for free. Kind of crazy, don't you think? So now, brothers and sisters, getting into this right here, back into the Hebraic understanding of this. All right, let's get back in a moment. Time, time, as you see, color coded, right? Yamim. But as we already pointed out, the word Yamim here, days, days, Yamim, time. So if Yamim is the plural of Yom, right? Why, brothers and sisters, do we say Genesis, the Most High separating the day from the night? We know that day is Yom. Yom in Hebrew means day, and as we're pointing out, it also means the word time. And the Lord's anger was kindled in that day. Day, day. See, when there's a teaching in Israel that the Sabbath is only in the daylight, but you can't go out to the congregation on Sabbath because you had an emission of semen because you was being sexually active that Friday night, and it says you're supposed to wash yourself in water and be unclean until that evening. Don't you think then that that time must be connected? You get the point? There are Israelites who couldn't go out on Shabbat to the camp because they was active carnally with their spouse and became unclean according to Leviticus chapter 15. Friday night, early Saturday morning before the sun came up. Now, when we read in Psalms, from the rising of the sun to the going down thereof, the name of the Lord is to be praised. That's because it's going to say that because most people do things in the day. Most people sleep at night. So the teaching, and I say this in no disrespect, that if there's understanding of generally 12 hours at night and 12 hours of daylight, right? And the teaching that says the Sabbath is only in the daylight part, like some Israelites do teach, they will say that the nighttime is the preparation. Brothers and sisters, how much preparation do you need for the Sabbath? You need 12 hours of nighttime to prepare for 12 hours of daytime for a day of rest? No. What it is, Friday night, she looks good. Friday night, there's overtime. You're not going to want to miss that to sit home and read the Bible that you intend to read online on Saturday afternoon when you're sitting at home anyway. See, brothers and sisters, since the whole YouTube thing came out, right? You had it to where there's been more and more aspects of getting this word out. You understand? There's been more and more aspects of getting this word out. So in certain cases, people don't go as much as they used to go out to camps, which it is what it is. You understand? And we who are online can utilize this to reach out to the people. And you'll be surprised who listens to you. There are people, you have the same general people in the chat room that I'm on and everything like that, right? And then there are those who, this is my word, who sit there and still eat pork, but say, Moray or brother, I heard what you had to say. I like that video. You never know who you're reaching. That's why we should not try to always condemn. Because there are people who have texted me after giving the number out online. They never comment on it, but they said they were listening or heard it. Right? That still, perhaps, or dealing with unclean products in food. You understand? So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. All right? Now, to the people in the chat about who is talking about who, the question I asked the henotheism community is, how would you say henotheism in Hebrew? See, henotheism is a English word from the Greek word hinethos. How would you say that in Hebrew? Ask that brother that. You understand? Maybe the brother Uriah, who's online, maybe you can ask him that. How would you say henotheism from the root word in Greek, hinethos? How would you say that in Hebrew? You understand? Like, for instance, we went over the word paleo. Paleo is the Greek word, right? Meaning ancient. The Hebrew word for ancient is the word atik. Let me write this down so we can gain understanding of what we're talking about. Nah, 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 nah. I'm gonna put this one here in black so we can see what it is. All right. Would you see me writing in the black? That's what it is, right? Atik. Now, atik, brothers and sisters, as you see me writing, that's the Hebrew word meaning ancient. The Greek word for ancient is paleo. So I'm going to ask somebody if you can ask any brother or sister from the henotheism community who seem to want to come, certainly at Old Testament based brothers, all right, and sisters, with this concept. How would you say henotheism from the Greek word henethos in Hebrew? Of course, we don't have a word for that in Hebrew because it's not a Hebrew concept. So when you say, my brother, I think we don't have that word in Hebrew, is because you can't translate everything into Hebrew because that's not a Hebrew thought. Just as much as this term here, matricide, right? Matricide is one who kills one's own mom. There's no Hebrew word for a person who slays his own mother outside of Resha, which is wicked. When son of Judah died, it says he was wicked, so the Lord slew him. Who knows what kind of stuff was into? You understand? The Hebrew thought would have it. If you remember the movie Juice, right? When the guy that Tupac was playing in the movie Juice, when he murdered his friend Raheem in the movie, right? The only thing that their friend GQ or Quincy in Juice can say is to his little brother, yeah, you could take that radio. I don't even want that, man. You know, for those who watch the movie Juice, you know where I'm going with that particular case. You understand? We're not going to find a Hebrew aspect of henotheism because it's not a Hebrew word. You're not going to find a Hebrew word for it because it's not the Hebrew aspect. So what doctrine are you bringing? And I say you, I'm talking in general. Why would you, I'm speaking in general and I say you, why would you bring to Hebrews a doctrine that you can only translate in Greek? That's my question. What doctrine and what mindset? Because if you deal with the Apocrypha says concerning the Israelites that sided with the Greeks, it says certain wicked Israelites took on the Greek ways. So when son of Judah, who was just listed in Genesis as wicked and he was slain by the Most High, we have to begin to know and understand and ask, if we see that henotheism from the Greek word henethos cannot be translated to a Hebrew concept, into a Hebrew thought, why would you, if you claim to be a Hebrew, try to bring a Greek thought to the Hebrews? You are no different than the Israelites in the time of the Maccabees that was bringing in Greek thoughts to the Israelites. And you know what Matthias did with that, right? Off with it. Bye-bye. See, because those Israelites there were slain. Not that I'm telling somebody to go ahead and do that today. The Israelites in the time of Elijah, when we went over earlier in First Kings, when they said, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Hu Elohim, after that they were slain. You understand? The last words they said was that the Most High is Elohim, but your body was already given to Baal, another god of the other nations. So that's a thing we have to sit back and ask. See, that's the difference, and I say this in no disrespect, between scholarly and righteousness. The difference between teaching and debating. Because if we cannot translate a Greek word such as henotheism to a Hebrew word, and it can only be coming directly from a Greek thought, which, do you know this? Henotheism, when you look it up online, is what modern, hate to have to say it because YouTube is on some stuff about race and everything like that now. About modern white people of today, about what they call Greek culture. Modern white people today, modern Europeans, modern Caucasians, if you will, henotheism is what they called ancient Greek culture. So how you got, for the lack of a better term, a black man said by some as the black Hebrew Israelites, who we call ourselves black as a byword, we are truly the Hebrews or the Israelites. Why would you sit there and bring, where's your mind at? Where is, that's what I'm asking. Maybe you can type it in. And I'm speaking not to bash, I'm speaking and asking. Why would you think, my brother, that somebody would want to sit there and bring a concept that you can only transform from Greek to the Israelites? While that reply might be coming in, we're going to move on in the presentation. So we see that day and time is said as the same word in Hebrew, which is the word yom. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10, if we will, okay? Somebody stated, that's why I think you, speaking of me, should be the one to sit down with him, because I personally don't think that another brother whose name won't be verbalized on here addressed it properly. I think, and I can say, I think the brother Avdiel did a good job. Personally, I saw that debate between them two, or that discussion between Divine Prospect and Avdiel. I saw it. I think the brother Zion Lex, aka Abdiel Ben Levi, did a very good presentation on that. Now, maybe everyone may agree or disagree. Okay, some people don't agree. Then I do good presentations. So that's what it is as far as it goes with that. But to answer your question, and the reason why I will not go there is because, as far as sitting down with that, and I say this not to be haughty or anything of that sort, in my time in my life right now, I'm trying to not to be funny, sit down anymore. This month I turned 39. I'm trying to stand up and make moves, and to go back there after it was already addressed. The same points that the brother Avdio made will be in light with the same points I made or will make. So if one's going to agree, they're going to agree. If they're going to disagree, they're going to disagree. But as it says, we read earlier, at the end of the day, all will bow and confess to the Most High. So let's go back into this. Time and day. Now I stayed in the mount as at the first time, 40 days and 40 nights. And Yah hearkened unto me that time also. Yah would not destroy thee. Wa anoki. Amati bahar bayamim harishonim. Arba'im yom wa arba'im laila. Wa yishma yore wahe elai. Gam pa'am hahu. Lo abba yore wahe. Hush. Titeka. Right? So now let's look at this right here. We have first time. First time. See how the word yom means time and yom means day? Now, if we translate Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10, as only the word day, we will read, now I stayed at the mount as at the first days, 40 days and 40 nights. But how do you stay for days for days? See, that's how we know that Hebrew is important. Are there any questions about what we went over in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10, about the day, the yom, the word time, and so forth and so on? Any questions in regards to that? The point is that the word yom means more than one meaning. It means day, it means course, and it means time. Thus, when we read the separation of day and night in Genesis 1, verse 4 through 5, that is speaking of his day and his night, which was the start of the count to the Shabbat. I hope this is understood. All right. If there's any questions about what we went over, please feel free to ask in the comment board. Any questions concerning this matter? All righty, let's go on. The tribe of the Danites and the matter. See, we was going over several subjects in this particular regard, right? All right. The tribe of Dan, a controversial subject to some. There are those who will say that the tribe of Dan is destroyed, yet the scriptures speak otherwise. In the next several slides, we will go over the fact that the Danites were not destroyed. Next slide. Judges chapter 8, verse 13. And the children of Dan set up for themselves the graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of the Danites until the day of the captivity of the land. Now, brothers and sisters, the children of Dan set up for themselves the graven image. People are saying that because of this, the tribe of Dan is destroyed. That's not what that says. It says they did that until the captivity of the land, meaning until the time of the Assyrians coming in. See, the book of Judges, as we have it, is written from the focal point of the events after it happened. All right, so that's something I want to point out in that particular regard. Wayakwemu lahim b'nei Dan, the tribe I claim, Dan. Et ha pasel, the thing that they was told not to do, making a fesel an idol. Wayonatan ben Gershom ben Menashe, who ubanao hayu kohanim l'shebet hadani ad yom gelot haaretz. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. This is not saying that the tribe of Dan is destroyed. The matter of Judges chapter 18, verse 30. Judges 18, like most of the book of Judges, speaks of the fact that the children of Israel did wicked. Dan in that portion is just the subject of that particular case. In the next slides, we will go over the matter of Dan. Next slide. Amos chapter 8, verse 14, and misunderstanding. They that swear by the sin of Samaria and say, as thy God, O Dan, lives, and as the way of Beersheba lives, even they shall fall and never rise up again. Hanish ba'in ba'ashmat shomron, wa amru kei Elohe kadan, wa kei derek Beersheba, wa naflu wa lo yakumu od. Many go to Amos 8:14 and read that portion and deduce that Dan, the tribe, will fall and never rise again. The portion, however, is saying that those who swear by the sin of Samaria, let's go into that particular regard. We're going to highlight that one, right? And we're going to highlight that one in, nope, that ain't going to work. Red. By the sin of Samaria, one, and say, as thy God, O Dan, lives, and as the way of Beersheba lives. So those are the three things that's being spoken about, brothers and sisters. The sin of Samaria, as thy God, O Dan, lives, and the way of Beersheba lives. How are people talking about the tribe of Dan is destroyed from this? That's not what Amos 8:14 is saying. Let us see Samaria, Dan, and Beersheba. Let's go on. The biblical territory is allotted to the people. Now, this is a better understanding of line upon line and precept upon precept. Even though the citation that you get out of Isaiah upon line is not a good thing, not a happy thing, should I say. The Israelites, we have said, and we do say, line upon line and precept upon precept. This is why, you see, talking about the land, Samaria is a land, Dan, we're going to show is a land, Beersheba is a land, we're going to show that. The biblical territory is allotted to the people. Joshua, chapter 19, verse 2, concerning Simeon. And they had for their inheritance Beersheba and Sheba and Molada. All right, so Beersheba, that was a part of, okay? Beersheba was part of the tribe of Simeon. Now in 1 Kings 16, verse 4, and he, speaking of the king of Israel at that time, bought the hill of Samaria. Samaria, a hill, a land, a territory, right? Of Shemer for 2 talents of silver. And he built on the hill and called the name of the city which he built after the name Shemer, the owner of the hill, Samaria. All right? So this is something we want to talk about for edification purposes. You have what? Shemer, Samaria, a land. Samaria, brothers and sisters, was a land. We are able to see, let's go on. We are able to see that Beersheba and Samaria were both lands in the land of Israel. One in Simeon, as we've shown here in Joshua 19, and the other in the land of Ephraim. See? Samaria was a land in Ephraim when you go and understand where that land was at. Let us show the Dan matter, because that's the hardcore subject concerning that. Genesis 49 says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Let Dan be an adder in a way that bites the horse's heel so that the rider falleth backward. Hallelujah. That's the portion I like about Dan. That bites the horse's heel so the rider falleth backward. So we're going to ride and use this brother or sister, whoever the Danite might be, and we're going to use that brother or sister and step on them, misuse them, abuse them, disrespect them. But what does it say? Dan bites the horse's heel so the rider falleth backward. Now, some people, believe it or not, have taken, and it's not trying to be funny or nothing like that, right? Have taken the aspect, and I wanted to highlight this in a different color. Be an adder in the way. Some people have said that an adder, believe it or not, is like Dan was added on. But that's not what an adder is. Brothers and sisters, the adder, all right, in Hebrew, is a snake. It's a certain type of snake. Shafifon in the Hebrew. Shafifon, brothers and sisters, all right, is a certain type of snake. The adder snake is found in the Middle East and in Africa. You may want to look that up. The adder snake is found in what is called the Middle East and in Africa. So when Jacob described his son as such, he would have only been able to talk about the stuff in the lands around him. Next slide. After we get through this here in Joshua 19, verse 47. Remember earlier, we went over Joshua chapter 19, verse 2, which you see him being circled there. Now in verse 47 of that same chapter in Joshua 19, and the border of the children of Dan was too straight for them. So the children of Dan went up and fought against Leshem and took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and possessed it and dwelt therein, and called Leshem Dan after the name of Dan, their father. See why they like to call this the Old Testament? There are those who be like, oh, they went and they took the land and they conquered the people, and those people whom they conquered were already people who were into conquering. These people whom they took over were part of the Zidonians. That was not an easy fight for the house of the Danites, because the Zidonians were the same family of people that Jezebel came from, and who in part became later on known as the people of Tunisia. And they were some of them same people that gave Rome a big problem. So if you later on in history gave Rome a problem, you know good and well the Danites going against those who went later on against Rome, that was not no easy fight. But we know why I'm saying this part when they call it the Old Testament, because this is the book that Nat Turner used to get inspiration. This is the book that Gabriel Prosser used to gain inspiration. So of course they don't want us to go back to the so-called Old Testament. Because if these, what people start to read it, then they're going to want liberation. Because the God in the Old Testament promised if you return back to him, he will sit there and return back to you. So no, we don't want to do that. They'd rather promote a man who steals from the people, calling upon dead ancestors, as he goes around in Japan in the sauna, inside of the jacuzzi in Japan. They rather support that kind of individual than saying we're going to read this book and gain some inspiration out of it. Or the other aspect of the so-called conscious community that will tell you reading messes with my karma. I don't really read books. Those are the ones who sit there and swear they learn from watching YouTube videos, Facebook, and read the comments in it without understanding that the person doing the presentation had citations themselves. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Thank you, Brother Benjamin, for the acknowledgement. Glory to the Most High. Israel and the tribe of Dan. So let's look and see at the map that we're talking about. Okay? We can use the laser pointer still. We're supposed to use the laser pointer. Dan in the north, as we see here. Right? I want to circle it so that way it can be known and shown. And we're going to circle this in black. Dan, as you see there. Then we see Beersheba. All right? And here we see, for whatever reason they have it in Manasseh, but it's really in Ephraim. All right? Samaria. So we have check, check, and check. Dan, Samaria, and Beersheba. These are lands, brothers and sisters. It says in Joshua that they named Dan after Dan, their father. So it's not too hard to figure out what's being spoken about. So, brothers and sisters, one more time, where we see Dan being circled right there. All right. Beersheba being circled. And you wouldn't see Samaria here because this says land of Canaan at time of Joshua. And as we pointed out, the land of Samaria became known, brothers and sisters, during the time after Joshua during the time of King Ahab. All right. So that's why you wouldn't see in the time of Joshua the land of Samaria right there. So let's see. You have Dan, Beersheba, and later on we now see Samaria. So Dan, Samaria, and Beersheba. So let's go back to this part in the book of Amos when it says what? They that swear by the sin of Samaria. Remember, Ahab had idols in there. And say, as thy God, O Dan, lives. Dan, the land in that particular regard. And at the way Beersheba lives. Beersheba, we already shown twice, brothers and sisters, was in the land of Simeon. So you have Beersheba, Samaria, and Dan. So from the northern part all the way here to all the way in the southern part here, those who swear by those idols in that place will fall and never rise up again. That's not saying the tribe of Dan will fall and never rise up again. That's why you have to gain understanding. Okay? The matter of Dan, in conclusion, the tribe of Dan, like his brothers, are scattered. So when everyone going online, the tribe of Dan, and where is it at? He's the Antichrist, and he's this, and he was the most wicked. The most wicked tribe was Judah, hands down. But nobody's going to really say that about Judah being destroyed because everyone perhaps wants to say, I'm Judah, I'm the king. So they pick on Dan for a reason I propose in my book. Because according to other records, Dan was the one who avenged Jacob in slaying Esau. Dan's son Hushim being the one who done that. So when Esau, Edom, whoever we want to understand that to be another case, got their hands on records, Dan ain't going to be in the 144,000 count because it was to be written Danites off. That's why you see right here in the title, Hashem Wagam Hadanim, the name and also the Danites. There are 12 tribe charts that don't have the tribe of Dan. And there are some 12 tribe charts that do have the tribe of Dan. But you know what? We're going to get into this. Malachi 3:6 says that Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, the Elohim, does not change. Therefore, the sons of Yisrael are not consumed. All tribes are going to return. Ezekiel 48 speaks of the return of the Israelites. All the tribes are mentioned. So the 12 tribe chart that the Most High has in Ezekiel 48 is the chart we need to go by. Any other chart is garbage. Further explanation in the video, The Tribe of Dan on YouTube channel by Moreh Yeshaya. Now I'm going to put this, brothers and sisters, when this is uploaded, there's a way for me to put a video as a link, and I'm going to put that video as the link in this so you can see more information regarding the Danite matter. It is in due respect to the Most High that I say shalom to all here, and I hope that we learn something from this. I am open to constructive criticism. I like to learn. My contact email is kashubhut@gmail.com. My contact phone, 908-587-4841. The next presentation is going to be put in DVD format and sent via computer email to those who are interested, and is for all who care. Shalom. Brothers and sisters, thus ends this. It is now 1 p.m. and now my time online for today has ended. And I will now deal with my little one, and we are going out. You all have a good day. Shalom. Shalom. Okay, I see what the computer's asking me. It was peace and love, Israel. You all have a good day. Me and my little one, we're going out now. And you know when you're dealing with children, 1 o'clock was the set time. It's now 1:02. You know with children, 1 becomes 1:30 to 1:40 because they forgot this and had to do that. She walked around me a little while ago, knowing that we were supposed to sit there at 1 o'clock. It's now 1 o'clock. I completed my part for the day, for the morning part into the afternoon. Now watch the situation, because you all who have children and were children know exactly what it is. I bet you she ain't ready yet. All right, shalom lakem, brothers and sisters. Y'all have a good day. I love her, and I love you all. Shalom.